All right, everyone, so it's time for another garden update. Here I have my tomato plants, which are producing fruit, but not really a whole lot. This is the first time that I've tried growing tomatoes seriously. I've always avoided growing tomatoes because just from my past experience with them, they seem to be very prone to getting diseases like blight, and they also are big magnets for insects. But these are celebrity tomatoes, and supposedly celebrity tomatoes were bred, I believe, in the 1950s or late 40s to resist diseases. And so far, I'm not really seeing a whole lot of signs of disease, so it looks like it's working. Here I have a cucumber plant. I'm gonna have to extend this trellis upward, but there is a cucumber here. You guys can see that. Here's a melon. It's climbing up this trellis here, and there is a melon. Look at that. And there's a cucumber plant right here. And oh, look at that, nice. Got a big Swiss chard plant right in the middle here. And then the eggplants are doing well. Yesterday, I spent about 4 hours cleaning up my chicken coop and spreading the sawdust-rich manure all over this garden. And yesterday I spread the chicken manure all over this eggplant bed. And you can see the plants are looking very happy. They're looking more happy than than yesterday. Last year, my eggplant harvest was amazing. Better than this year so far, but we'll see how this works out. And yeah, you can see here fruit growing. I spread manure all over these okras as well. They're looking decently happy. I've been picking okra out of these plants every day, and then within the week, or by the end of the week, I'll have enough okra to make a meal. So every week I'll be eating okra. Here's some habaneros. And they're putting on some decent fruit. You can see here, it looks nice. Here's a habanero that's ready to go. It's actually over-ripened. These sunflowers are looking very nice. You can see seeds are developing on them already. Let me get the focus on better. And here you have another one. And these are dandelions, which I've been eating. Swiss chard is over there, but because of the heat, it's not looking too happy. But once the temperatures cool down later on in the year, it'll revitalize. Here's a bunch of lemon balm, bee balm. Bee balm is very good for tea, especially the flowers. Have some marshmallow growing here. Let me change the focus so you can see. Tons of stevia. Stevia's growing very well. Basil's been growing very well as well. I'm making pesto out of that. There's one thing that I wanted to show you guys. Oh, by the way, herbs, sage, just like last time. Nothing's changed really. So here are my grapes. I know it looks like a Halloween decoration, but these are bags, paper bags that are covering each cluster because birds have been eating my grapes. So lesson learned, always cover your clusters with bags. And next year what I'm gonna do is as soon as the cluster appears on the plant, as soon as the baby cluster appears on the plant, bag it. Bag each one. That way you prevent the grapes from being both eaten and infected with disease. And the bags will protect the fruit from disease. One of you guys in the comments You are an Australian farmer. You said that my grape plant was infected with a fungus, and you were correct. So what I did was I sprayed the plant with a mixture of water and baking soda and a little bit of olive oil. And this actually did the trick because the grapes were being killed by a fungus called black rot, which is the biggest killer of grapes. And I sprayed the plant with this mixture of water, baking soda, and olive oil, a little bit of olive oil. And it actually worked really well. In fact, just a number of days after spraying the plant, the grapes actually started turning to, purple grapes. They actually started ripening. You can see it here through this bag. You can see it here as well. Here's an exposed cluster. And you can definitely eat these. That's good. A little sour, but refreshing nonetheless. And when it comes to things like black rot's the biggest killer of grapes, at least from the fungus family. When it comes to things like black rot, you go on YouTube and there are people who are going to give you these instructions on what to do, and they're going to tell you things like, well, you got to strip the leaves off the plant because too many leaves prevents proper air circulation, and it gives a good atmosphere for black rot to thrive in. And so people go out of the way and they start stripping the leaves off. And it's not a bad idea to strip like this leaf here. I mean, get rid of it. It's obviously infected with fungus. It's not a bad idea to rip some leaves off, but I've seen people on YouTube who tried to do it and it still didn't work, and the black rot still killed their plant. And I've heard people say that if you have black rot, that's it, kiss your grapes goodbye, wait until next year because you're not going to get a harvest. I do not believe that, and my grapes attest to this. The reason is because instead of just leaving the plant alone, for the grapes to be destroyed by black rot, I started looking up some organic solutions because I don't like using chemicals. I've tried using chemicals in the past, and chemicals and like industrial farming tech chemicals, they work, they're efficient, but my God, they smell like death, and I feel like I'm in a gas chamber every time I use chemicals. I don't want to use chemicals. So I looked up an old school organic method of killing fungus on plants, and it's just water mixed with baking soda and a little bit of olive oil. You can use any sort of vegetable oil. Vegetable oil actually will work, like canola, etc. But I use a little bit of olive oil because that's what I have. I don't use canola oil. So I had one of these actually. I'll just show it to you. One of these things, you can get this at Lowe's. And I put about maybe like two heaping tablespoons of baking soda in this thing, and then I just sprayed it. Also mix in a little olive oil. Olive oil or vegetable oil is going to help the baking soda stick on the leaves to kill the fungus. And that's what I did, and I sprayed the plant. I sprayed it, and then a couple of days later it rained, so I gave it another spray, and then about the next day or the day after, I sprayed it again just to make sure that the fungus was taken care of. And these grapes, within a matter of days, these grapes started to ripen. Because when you get black rot, the grapes will start to turn black. I mean, hence the name, and they will begin to shrivel. And when they start to turn black, it looks like they're ripening. So it confuses you. It makes you think, oh, look, the fruit's ripening. And then you see the fruit shriveling up, and then you try to eat it, and it has like no flavor at all, or just really, really bitter flavor. And you're like, what's going on? They're not ripening. They're dying. So black rot can confuse you. At least it confused me. Here, I'll give you an example of what black rot does to a grape. This is what it does to a grape. Okay, let me change the focus here. This is what it does to a grape. Okay, it makes it look like a shriveled up caper. And what you want is this. Okay, you want the grape to just have its texture, have its texture, maintain its texture, nice purple color, little wild yeast on the skin, and that's what you want. Well, instead of just giving up like what a lot of people recommend on the internet, I sprayed this plant with this water, baking soda, and olive oil mixture, and it worked. And the fruit started to ripen. Now, albeit the birds began to eat the grapes, and that's why I bag it. But next year, what I'm going to do is, as soon as the little baby grape cluster pops out, as soon as the little clusters pop up out of the vine, or vines, I should say, I'm gonna bag each cluster. That way, it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. It prevents the birds and the rodents from eating your fruit, and it prevents the disease from infecting your fruit. That way I don't have to use the spray. But if you are growing grapes and you are dealing with this infection, any sort of fungus, just mix up water, baking soda, and a little bit of vegetable oil, and that should take care of the problem. Don't just spray it one day and think it's gonna work. Spray it one day, wait a day or two, spray it again. If it rains, spray it the next day, because the rain will wash out your solution, and just give it a few days. Spray every other day for a week or so, and you have a pretty good chance of getting these fruits to actually become edible. It worked for me, and I'm literally a first-time grape grower. This is the very first time I've grown grapes, so give that a try. I think these grapes are gonna work well. I'm gonna have a decent harvest out of this vine, and then next year I hope it'll be better because I know what to do. Anyway, you guys just heard some theology. God bless.